everyone! So today I'm heading to the Mark 3D National Championships hosted by the National Field Archery Association. And I want to explain to you before I go there what a 3D competition is. So first off, what exactly is 3D archery? So 3D archery is a form of field archery that is very close to hunting. In fact, it's the closest thing to hunting you can find in archery without actually, killing the animal and hunting it. It involves shooting at 3D targets that are shaped life-size as animals that hunters would actually go out and hunt. And the purpose is to get the arrow to the closest to the center of the heart as possible, as you can see in the deer right here. And it's challenging because you're not on flat ground like you would at target archery. Instead, you're on hills, on different angles, you're shooting up or down, and your foot might be on a hill, or there might be a bush in your way, which is why it's so challenging compared to whereas the ground would be flat and the target is set at a certain distance at target archery. Scoring in 3D competitions differs a lot by the competition you go to. This one was 12 points, 10 points, 8 points, and a 5-point system, but it was only for this competition and this certain target. So it took us about 4 hours to get from our house to Fresno. And as you can see, we just arrived, and you can see the Break the Barriers and NFAA competition sign right here. And the area was really hilly, so it took us a while to get there. So after driving for about 10 more minutes, we arrived at the main area. You could see the tents and the board where all the sponsors were. That would be the area where they gave out the prizes. And I was surprised to see a lot of sponsors that were different from USA Archery. This competition had sponsors from Delta McKenzie and places like even Starbucks. And this is the tent where I had to sign in and check in for practice and competition tomorrow. So since this was during the COVID-19 pandemic, I had to sign a waiver about safety precautions and just safety overall during the competition. And after I signed that, my parents had to sign it too since I am a minor. And they also had to follow me around the range when I shot. And after we signed that, I was given a practice pass and I was allowed to practice right away on the range. So at the range, they had a variety of distances from 20 yards and 30 yards all the way to 100 yards. And they were at different angles, so I was able to practice that before competition. I've only practiced before on flat ground, so this was kind of new for me. And I found that the shooting to a lower angle was different than shooting when on flat ground. So I had to adjust all my sight marks and my clicker for that. And I practiced for about 2 or 3 rounds just to warm up my body before I went on the actual practice range. This was just to get my sight marks ready for the actual competition tomorrow. So after a while, the practice range started to fill up, and most of the archers there were actually compound archers, which makes sense since 3D archery and hunting is similar to each other, and most hunters are compound archers. And there were a couple recurve archers that I saw at this competition, and a couple of traditional shooters, but most of them were compound shooters. So I actually did so much more walking and hiking than I thought I would. So how the competition was structured is that there were 3D animal shaped targets at different locations and you would go around to them like a golf course. And this was one of the targets on the practice round where you would go around to 18 targets instead of all of them. And this is, I believe, the caribou at 30 or 40 yards. And it was one of the first practice targets I tried. So there were targets in really fun positions throughout the course, such as this one. It was of a bear and a moose, and they were in like a fighting stance to each other. And this was also an example of a double target, which was you still stand in the same location, but you're shooting at 2 targets. You shoot 1 arrow at each target. And there are some types of targets that are structured like this throughout the competition, and some single targets as well. And I'm just gonna be posting about my second day of the competition in my next video, so stay tuned for that.